Episode 8 The Face in the Mirror. Greetings and welcome, those that know and those that don't. You've appeared here in my dark and sordid little section of this vast world. My name is Jessi, and I'm here to share the various strange and creepy things we find every day. So put your feet up, sit back, and listen to the newest. A bit of self-indulgence for a moment, if you'll allow me, dear listeners. Since I began this little series, I suppose you would call it, I find I now have the strangest dreams. Sometimes it's simply what you'd expect, plants coming from the ground to take me, strange far-off worlds where the laws of physics are distorted and unequal, monsters in the dark. But other times they're tales I have yet to read, worlds and monsters and powers that I know not what they are. Today's saga is one such anecdote, a report that I swear I had yet to read, and yet not even 6 hours ago, I swear I was dreaming about it. But I suppose that's another thing I'll have to add to the don't quite understand list. Perhaps I read this a long, long time ago, and my subconscious is simply reminding me of it. Today's report seems to once again be a transcript from two people's conversations, though only one side is recorded. Anyways, today's saga. Just who are you? I saw you outside the library yesterday. You were staring at me. Are you some kind of stalker? Right, like I'm supposed to believe that. Show me a badge or something, or scram. I'm trying to eat my lunch. Private detective, eh? Alright, it looks legitimate, though I probably wouldn't know the difference either way. What do you want? That? Yeah, I've already given my statements. Go look at the police reports if you want that. I'm done looking crazy, thank you very much. You know I went to prison for it, right? I only just got out on a technicality, some kind of lawyery sounding term, something to do with how I was sentenced. You know, for the murders I didn't commit. Fine, if it'll get you gone here. Where do you want me to start? The day I got released? My sentencing? The murders themselves? Well, in that case, it probably all started when I was a kid. As kids, we all do stupid stuff, thinking we're being smart or sneaky or somehow smarter than our parents and every other adult. Like they were never kids, right? We've only known them as adults, so they must have always been adults. So it should come as no real surprise I got into my fair share of trouble as a lad and then some. I can still remember my mother, Marcus. She'd say my name like that more often than any other. Anytime I'd push someone on the playground or not do my homework or when I'd talk back, but especially when I went into the attic. My parents, like most, had a lot of rules. A lot. Curfews, what I could eat when, who I could speak to, how I could dress, where I could go. There were many rooms in the house that were locked and only my parents had keys so that neither I nor any of my younger siblings could go in without an adult. But the attic? It was never locked. I have fuzzy memories of it having a padlock when I was really, really young, like 4 or 5 I think, but after that I never saw another lock on it. I often wonder if that was a dream. That didn't mean we were allowed in, however. No, the attic was more off limits than any other room in the house. If we'd somehow managed to get into the parlor, for example, we'd go to bed with no supper for the night. If we went to the attic, we'd be beaten with the strap, then sent to bed with no supper for the week. As a kid, it kind of infuriated me. It was just an attic. Why should there be so much punishment tied to a door with no lock? It was an old house, one where the attic had a direct staircase leading to it and a proper door. Not like some of these houses where it's like a hatch in the ceiling. I knew the stairs leading to it well. I knew the second one creaked on the left side, the third on the right. I knew that halfway up the entire stair creaked so much that you had to skip it. I even knew the last 2 stairs didn't creak at all. My siblings and I would often challenge each other to get as far up the stairs as we could without being caught. It wasn't the smartest game, and more often than not we'd all get into trouble over it, but I was always the one to get the farthest. It was a regular occurrence that I would get to the door itself, place my hand on the wood panel or the doorknob. Sometimes I'd even lightly turn the knob, always wondering what was just past this one door, this one push. Then I'd remember the last beating and chicken out. We'd get in trouble for just being on the stairs. I didn't want to make it worse, so I didn't open the door. Not for a long time. But I'd dream about it. Ideas of what could be back there swirling in my mind. Old wartime equipment. My grandfather always proudly displayed his rifles. Maybe my dad had some. Old photo albums of my parents when they were young. Extra boxes of random knickknacks that they just never got around to unpacking. Antique furnitures. It eventually started to wear on me. The desire to know, the need to know. It slowly became all I thought about day and night. I began to work on plans to get into the attic with enough time to actually look around before being caught. So I watched my parents. My dad's work schedule, it was simple enough. He worked 6 days a week, so it left me huge chunks of time before and after school. My mom was a little more complex. She was a homemaker, so she was around seemingly all the time. It became a point of frustration for me, if I'm honest. But she did do a weekly grocery shop, and I'd be left alone to babysit. I became convinced that that would be the only time I could do it. No other time would work. It had to be on that one Saturday every week where I'd have anywhere from 1 to 3 hours of time to work with. Spent a couple of weeks doing what I called reconnaissance. The reality was it was just me timing my mom from when she left to when she'd return, demanding we help move the heavy groceries. After almost a month, the pattern emerged. Every second trip was bigger than the last, so I'd have to go on one of those days. I recruited my siblings. We all wanted to know, and the danger of being caught made the prospective prize all the sweeter. If my mom returned too soon, they'd distract her, claim I was in the bathroom or something. It worked. The moment she left, I bolted up those stairs, still sneaking up them as if stepping on the creaking spots would somehow alert the adults who were no longer home. I took to them slowly, and when I reached the door, I remember I took a moment. I was right there, one push of the door, one step in, and I'd have done it. But should I? What if there was real danger in there? What if Mom came home early? What if Dad got laid off? I think about that all these years later. Dreaming about letting go of that knob, turning down the stairs, and just walking away. Living my life like normal. I was 18 at that point, albeit just barely. I was living at home because I was going to work with my dad at the steel mill. I could be the adult and just walk away. You have no idea how much I wish I had. How much I'd trade to make that reality. But I took a deep breath and opened it. Even though it hadn't been opened in I don't even know how long, the hinges were smooth and made no noise, other than the soft whoosh of the door pushing on the carpet. To explain my confusion, you need to understand that where the door was located, inside the house, there was only a few feet from the outer wall. I'd always thought the door would open to some stairs going to the side, or just a small entrance, like a foyer, the rest of the attic off to the right. Instead, I stared at more stairs, reaching up and up and up until I couldn't see the top. I knew something was up. This was obviously not real. I closed the door and opened it again, expecting whatever illusion this was to vanish and reveal the real attic that I knew had to be behind it. But it was just those stairs again, reaching on up into infinity. I can't explain what I did next, or rather, I can't explain why. I started climbing, one step at a time at a casual pace, as if this was just any other stairs and not some illusory fake something. Soon I was at least a dozen steps up, the end not in sight. Up and up and up and up. At one point I looked back and I couldn't even see the door anymore. But this somehow didn't bother me. I didn't turn back. My pace didn't even change. It was still that same slow, casual saunter up. I don't know how long I climbed for, but it felt like days. There was no sun in that hallway, no sky up the stairs. I could always see, but there was no light source. It was just not dark. I felt no hunger or fatigue on those stairs. I felt nothing at all, really, save the stairs under my feet and the railing under my hand. Up, up, up. Eventually I reached the top, or at least what I assumed to be the top. I don't think that place or the beings inside it really conform to our traditional laws of physics. It was another door. Identical to the attic door, the same wood panels, the same knob, even the same little crack near the bottom. For a moment I snapped back to myself, confused and thinking I'd somehow come all the way back around. That didn't make sense, but neither did this staircase, the entire situation even. I put my hand on the knob and it was warm, like someone else had been recently holding it. It wasn't an unpleasant feeling, but it did leave me unsettled. But I'd made it this far, been climbing for days and days. I had to know what was just beyond this door. I didn't open it. I didn't turn the knob. I didn't push the door. It swung open on its own, nearly pulling me in with it. Behind the door was a small room. Just a few feet in each direction, almost like what you'd expect for a small storage closet. In that room was just one thing, a mirror. A tall, easily 6-foot plus mirror. It was only about 1.5 feet or so in width, and it had a white sheet over top of it, as if protecting it from dust. I pulled it off, and no dust came with it. The mirror was probably everything you're imagining it to be, made of sterling silver or something that looked like it. The glass itself was oblong, and the housing was carved and bent into beautiful filigree, glowing runes from some ancient language carved into them with incredible precision, the kind that modern man just can't replicate. In that glass was me. I looked at it and it looked back at me. I stared, confused, upset, even angry. I felt cheated. After all this time, all this effort, all the threatened punishments, all the beatings, and it was nothing but some old-ass dusty mirror. But then it blinked. Now I want you, the next time you're by a mirror, to try to watch yourself blink. You can't. You can see the eyelids move down, but the moment of contact, that full close, you can't see it. But I watched it, full blink, the expression slowly morphing into a grin. There was something off about that grin. You know how most of the time a smile is just a smile? The rest of the face is what tells you if it's a happy smile or a sad one, or some other emotion, but the smile itself is largely just a smile? That didn't apply to the thing in that mirror. Its eyes were still closed, and not a single other muscle in its face moved as it beamed at me with my face. Its eyes opened, and they weren't my eyes. My eyes are blue. Its were black. Only pupil, no iris, no whites of its eyes, nothing. Just black void. It put its hand to the mirror, flat against it, as if it really were a mirror. It looked at me with raised eyebrows, as if asking me to do the same. I don't know why I didn't scream. I don't know why I didn't run. Why I didn't assume it was only a dream. Why I didn't cover it back up, close the door, and run down those stairs. I was in full control of myself. I know I could have. But I didn't. Without a word, I put my hand to that same spot so ours were overlapping. Nothing but that thin glass between us. I stood there for what seemed like more time than it took to go up all those stairs, just staring into the eyes that weren't mine, my hand not moving from its. That smile, I could feel it reflected on my face, though I didn't choose to wear it. No, the muscles of my face were being pulled by something almost like threads, pulling the edges up, spreading my lips into a hideous mockery of the smile that I saw on not my face. From there, everything happened faster than I could keep track. The thing that wasn't me bent its fingers over mine, holding my hand and using it to pull itself out of the mirror, stepping over the threshold of its prison realm into ours. It smiled again with a wicked joy that struck me to my soul. Then it thanked me with a voice that sounded almost like mine, like someone who'd heard me a few times trying to replicate it, but not quite managing it. Then it rushed down the stairs, pulling me along with it. It moved with such speed that I couldn't do anything but go along for the ride. The very air trail it left behind it made it hard to breathe, and I think I blacked out for a second. Or a minute, or a day. Time didn't really exist where there was no light, and every bit of hallway was identical, never changing. I don't know how long it took to get back down. I only know it was far less than it had taken me to go up. Despite the days and days and days it took to get there and back, I'd only been gone a few hours. Mom was home and Dad was just opening the door. From the looks on their faces, I knew I'd been caught and was going to be in so much trouble. Then they caught sight of the thing pulling me. I think they knew who or what it was. Their faces immediately took on a look of fear and horror. I couldn't open my mouth. I couldn't ask them what was going on or warn them to leave. The thing dropped me, and faster than I could blink, it was on them. They didn't scream. They just died. It wasn't violent despite its fast motions and its sharp claws that I hadn't noticed before. It sliced their throats with perfect precision. They were dead before they hit the floor. I didn't see what it did to my siblings, but it ran throughout the house, and I heard the thumps of their forms, now lifeless. Before it left, it stopped in front of me, and I looked up at it. I'd fallen to my knees, unable to move, as days of no food and water nor rest hit me all at once, and the fear and adrenaline combating the tiredness left me disoriented, dizzy. It smiled that same wicked grin, leaned down to my ear, and whispered, "That was fun. We should do this again sometime, Marcus." Then it left, lightly jogging out the door, looking for all the world to be me. Neighbors saw the not me, and when the police eventually arrived, they found me weeping on the floor, surrounded by my parents' bodies. They arrested me, gave me a public defender who clearly had never dealt with something like this. The prosecution spun its story, telling about my troubled and angry youth, citing times I bullied kids or the one time I shoplifted. The judge and jury ate it up. I went to jail. I didn't know what to do or say, and I spent most of the last decade and a half sitting in a 10 by 10 cell for something I didn't do, something I couldn't do. Then, not even a week ago, some lawyer showed up to the prison, and suddenly I was released, claiming some kind of mistrial mistake or some legal jargon I didn't really follow. I was too busy watching his face. Well, his eyes. Black and empty, no whites, no irises, and that smile, wicked and jubilant like a kid pulling the wings off a fly. There was a small note written on the back. Listeners, it's written in a shaky hand, and I don't think it's the investigator. It simply reads, "With Marcus gone, who shall I have fun with next?" Well, I'm sure I don't need to point out that our legal system is woefully unprepared to address otherworldly monsters committing crimes while wearing the face of someone else. Imagine if this were to be publicly known, every actual criminal would be claiming imposters the world over. Still, what I find most intriguing was that the investigator had some kind of license, or at least some type of convincing fake. Doppelgangers are a common trope in both fantasy and mythology. Usually they're seen as bad omens, sometimes full on abducting and replacing the original, other times simply being tricksters and getting the original in trouble. I believe the original doppelganger tales come from Germanic folklore, though when dealing in ancient myths and legends, an exact origin is kind of hard to come by. From the sounds of it, this one seems to be a bit of both, a trickster of some kind that wanted to get this Marcus in trouble, but then it goes back 15 years later and frees him? To what end? And with that note, perhaps it's done with Marcus and searching for its new victim? Either way, once more, thank you for listening, Dark Wanderers and disbelievers alike. Tell me, did this one convince you? Feel free to share your tales and your staunch arguments that nothing like this could ever really exist. And until the next, let's cross that veil together.